Welcome to this latest edition of the Real Deal Podcast on this 28th of August 2019. I'm your host, the Real Gerald Quinn, discussing the world of sports and pop culture. As always, we are live on my YouTube channel, streaming here. Of course, you can go to my YouTube channel, Real Deal Podcast. We will be. I'll put this podcast on Blog Talk Radio as well later on this evening, probably before midnight. We're on Stitcher, iTunes.apple.com, Real Deal Podcast, Spotify. We're everywhere. So there's no excuse not to find us. Happy to be with you here on this Wednesday evening as we get ready for the college football season to be in full tilt. NFL season, of course, is still a couple, about roughly about 2 weeks away. Of course, the big news coming out this weekend in regards to the NFL was the retirement of one Andrew Luck at the age of 29. I did not see this coming. I thought Luck would play, just wouldn't play the preseason, that he would be returned for week one, and Indianapolis would be amongst the teams that would challenge the Patriots and the Kansas City Chiefs amongst AFC contenders. Listen, when a guy walks away in his prime at the most important, playing the most important position in sports, he is mentally done. He's mentally checked out. Now, this to me is 95% mental. This is 95% mental. At a certain point, you get tired of rehabbing and rehabbing and rehabbing and rehabbing. Rehab to get injured, rehab to get injured, rehab to get injured. And unless you've played football, unless you've played any major sport at a high level, you just have no clue in terms of the mental toll that it takes on you. Andrew Luck was regarded as one of the toughest players in the league. This guy played through multiple injuries. He played a year where he was injured, and then, in 2016, then, found out that was a mistake. Didn't play in 2017, came back last year, was the comeback player of the year. It is obviously unfortunate. It hurts the game because you're losing a guy who had all-time great talent. Andrew Luck was a can't-miss prodigy, top quarterback when healthy. You look at what he did, what he accomplished when he was healthy. The Colts made the playoffs. That team had no offensive line. They had a bad defense. He had a couple good, T.Y. Hilton, and that's it. That team. Andrew Luck was basically a one man gang. It's not even a comparison. If you want to compare what Andrew Luck had versus what Peyton Manning had. Peyton Manning had Jeff Saturday. Peyton Manning had Dwight Freeney, Jeff Mathis on the other side in terms of the defensive pass rush. Peyton Manning had a above average offensive line. Edgerrin James. Andrew Luck had no offensive line, no running game whatsoever until this year with some decent backs, no defensive line. He was a one man gang, and to me, if you want to blame anybody for Andrew Luck's injuries and for him being forced into retirement early, blame Jim Irsay. Blame that organization for not putting pieces around Andrew Luck early enough in his career to where he didn't have to take a beating game in and game out. Andrew Luck was one of the most sacked quarterbacks during his time. During his time, I'm sure Andrew Luck ranks probably in top three, top five in terms of most sacked quarterback in the league or most hit quarterback in the league easily. I mean, this guy took a beating over the course of his career. And again, it's unfortunate. Um, you have to respect. I respect the decision. These clickbait clowns over sports media. I mean, come on, question this guy's toughness, saying calling it a millennial decision. I mean, he never played a day in their life in the NFL. Have no clue what real pain is. Give me a break. Think about this. Andrew Luck was in position to be the NFL's highest paid player in 2022 at age 32. He could have signed for $50 million a year easily. He'd been a $225 million quarterback. He's walking away from $50 million a year easy. Okay, so it's not about the money. I mean, at a certain point, it's about peace of mind, and it's about, look, he just had a child. I want to be able to walk when I'm 50 or 60. I want to live past into my 60s. A lot of these football players with these physical ailments are dropping dead at 50. With all that being said, I believe Andrew Luck will be back in the NFL in 2020. I think he's going to take a year off, get his mind right, get his body, you know, rest his body for a year. I believe this time next year we'll be talking about Andrew Luck back on the Indianapolis Colts. I just can't see a quarterback walking away in the prime of his career that didn't suffer a career-threatening injury. I don't see it. Now, you look at, of course, the NFL history. This isn't the first time that a guy has walked away in his prime in terms of age. We saw Calvin Johnson, Barry Sanders, Gronkowski, even going way back in the day, Jim Brown, retired at 29. Sanders, Brown played at the running back position, so they had took a beating. Even age 29, they had been the primary backs on their respective teams. So and Jim Brown was probably making more money being a movie star than even playing football. So that probably was even more financial than anything. Barry Sanders was on a horrible team with a bad offensive line. Did everything he could do. Realized he never was going to win a championship. You know what? I'm good. I want to be able to walk at 50. Gronkowski has had an Andrew Luck type career as far as injuries goes, even though he's been healthier. He's been more healthier than Luck in terms of staying on field. But in recent years, Gronkowski's had a string of injuries. You could tell that the physical tear that got into him. He walks away. He'll probably be back. There's already rumblings about Gronkowski coming back this year. So you might see Gronkowski sometime in October or November. But I think Andrew Luck will be back in 2020. I just don't see a quarterback at 29 walking away without a career-threatening injury. Like Tony Romo's injuries were basically career threatening. Like, no, you take a hit the wrong way, you might not be able to walk if you take the wrong hit. Andrew Luck is not with an ankle and leg and ankle. That's not a career threatening injury. The reason why Andrew Luck is retiring is more of as a cumulative effect of the injuries and constantly having to rehab and come back, get injured, rehab, come back. So it's not just one injury; it's a accumulation of a number of injuries over the last 4 to 5 years that gets to a point to where you just don't feel like rehabbing anymore. You get tired of going. It's tedious. It's not fun. It's not glamorous whatsoever. You don't feel a part. A lot of guys talk about not feeling a part of the team, not being able to be productive, not being able to help your team, especially at that position. Especially when you are as respected and as revered as Luck is at that, the leader of the team, the quarterback, coming off a year where, comeback player of the year, he played great, got the team to the playoffs, and was, Indianapolis coming into this year was a legit Super Bowl contender. But again, I had zero problem with Luck retiring. Again, I'm never one to tell somebody when they should and should not retire. Again, he took a beating over the course of his career. He's walking away from tens and tens of millions of dollars. He's again, he was going to get one more if he continued to play for like 2 or 3 more years. He was going to get one more contract that probably would have made him the highest paid player in the history of the NFL. Period. And I mean, it goes without saying. He was going to be the highest paid player, especially in the history of the league. He was able to stay healthy and produce decent and produced at the level that he had produced in 2018. So again, it's a blow to the Indianapolis Colts. But again, I don't feel sorry for the Colts because the Colts and their organization are mainly to blame for this, for not putting the necessary pieces, especially with the offensive line, around Andrew Luck. You draft a franchise generational quarterback, you need to put top offensive linemen, draft offensive linemen to protect him. They waited too late. They waited after years of him taking a beating. They finally fixed the offensive line. Last year was one of the best offensive lines in the league, but by time by then 2018, it's too late. He'd already taken a number of hits and he already taken a number of sacks, and it was too late at that point. It was too late. So they are, to me, the majority. If I want to blame anyone for Luck retiring at age 29, I'm blaming the co-organization, Jim Irsay, and the rest of the organization for not taking care of their franchise quarterback. But again, it's a big loss to the NFL because that guy, it was no bullshit with him. It was no me. This guy was a team guy. He came up, showed up on Sundays when he was healthy, and again, he played the game. He really, played the game at the highest of levels when he was healthy. Was a Pro Bowl quarterback, and really, we really never saw the best of Andrew Luck. We really, we saw glimpses of it. We saw the potential of him being great, but we really never saw what it would look like when he was at his absolute pinnacle. It's unfortunate, obviously, for the Colts, but obviously it's unfortunate for the NFL because, again, the quarterback, listen, the Tom Brady's of the world, the Drew Breeses of the world, those guys are not going to be around forever. Those guys are not getting any younger. Even Aaron Rodgers is 35. Eli Manning's on his way out. Phillip Rivers is, 38, 37, 38 years old. So, Luck, Luck was going to be right in between that next generational crop, leading that next generational crop of quarterbacks, along with the Pat Mahomeses of the world and guys of that nature. I still don't know about Baker Mayfield and what have you. Still early on him, but Luck was definitely going to be in the middle of the next of that great generational star that was going to lead the league you know, into this next decade. But for at least for 2019, he will be at home or wherever he's from for at least a year. But again, the way guys changed their minds in 2019, unretire. I would be shocked if Andrew Luck is not on a football team, is not on the Indianapolis Colts in 2020. I'll be shocked. And you heard it here, August 28th, 2019. Andrew Luck will not stay retired. I don't believe it. I just don't. So you have that going on. Of course, college football will be in full swing. A couple of big matchups. Auburn, Oregon should be a fun matchup. Always, with SEC versus a West Coast team Oklahoma, Houston. Houston, has had a propensity of pulling up upsets. Oklahoma, of course, is a legit top five team. We'll see how that game goes. Other than that, there's not really any big time games. Louisville's ain't not any good. I don't think Louisville's any good this year, so I don't anticipate them pushing Notre Dame. Alabama, it doesn't matter. Alabama could have 40 players suspended and still manhandle Duke by 50 points. So to me, that's not a big deal. So I think week one will be, I don't know, not not a big time week of college football. Again, college football, to me, the college football season is all about this, about two things. Number one, who could challenge Alabama and Clemson? Who will be that third challenger or that first challenger, whether it be Georgia, Oklahoma, Ohio State? And the second thing is these Heisman Trophy caliber, NFL caliber quarterbacks, whether it be Fromm out of Georgia, Tuga Valuva out of Alabama, Lawrence out of Clemson, Herbert out of Oregon. I mentioned earlier some of these quarterbacks in the NFL are not getting any younger, so you're always looking for the next generation of fresh quarterbacks coming out of college who can be those next star quarterbacks coming out of college football. So that's going to be my focus for the college football season: the quarterbacks and who can challenge Clemson and Alabama for supremacy for the college playoffs. Today you had a couple things going on this week. Number one, DeMarcus Cousins. It's been a rough 2 years for DeMarcus Cousins. Ever since I think ever since he tore his Achilles back in January or February 2018. Before that injury happened, think about this. He's playing for the New Orleans Hornets. New Orleans Hornets, along with Anthony Davis, they were manhandling the Houston Rockets in a Friday night ESPN game back, I think February, late or mid February 2018, having their way. I'm watching the game with my cousin, and we're like, this team is going to be a problem if they get in the playoffs. Like they can match up. They're going to be a problem for anybody with those two dudes. Cousins tears his Achilles. Okay, misses the rest of that season on his contract year, where he was going to get anywhere from 150 to 200 million dollars. He signs with Golden State for a minimum deal. Has some moments with Golden State. Had a great game in the regular season, late in the regular season in March against Houston. He had like 30 points. Gets hurt in the first round of playoffs against the Clippers. Comes back in the NBA Finals. Has a couple moments, and then in the off season, no Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson starting off the season hurt, expected to play a big, was expected possibly to play a big role. Maybe if Golden State keeps him, they end up letting him go. He comes to the Lakers. He gets hurt in a pickup game, tears his ACL, and it's like at this point, it's like, is this guy's career over? Is he finished? Is he done? And now you hear again these accusations. Well, I shouldn't say accusations. I heard the tape. I heard the audio where he threatened to kill his girlfriend, the mother of his child. But again, we don't know the background. We don't know all the context of that. I mean, it clearly was a setup by her. Like, she clearly got paid by TMZ. TMZ had the audio, but before you judge DeMarcus Cousins, just understand where this man is at mentally. He's lost out on 150 to 200 million dollars. He may never play basketball again physically. He physically can be done. And the idea of allegedly, the mother of his child keeping him away from his son. I mean, I just again I don't know I would think that I wouldn't threaten the mother of my child if I was in that position, but I don't know. I don't know in that mindset with everything that he's had to deal with in the past 18 months. I mean, it's quick to judge. We all say, hey, you can't threaten anybody, let alone a woman, and you heard the audio and da 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 da. But you have to understand where he's at mentally right now. He is in a dark place mentally right now. No, there's no two ways about it. He's in a dark place. He may never play basketball again. He's had Achilles and a torn ACL back to back years. Achilles and torn ACL, and the injury that he sustained in the playoffs. So he's had three injuries in roughly in what 18 months. He's had three major injuries. Fought to get back to play in the finals. To his credit against Toronto, and actually had some moments. I mean, we know he wasn't in in great shape, didn't have a lot of lift, but he helped win game. He helped win them a finals game. He played well in two games in that NBA Finals. He played well in game two, in which Golden State won. And he actually played well in the last game, the game six. He actually, um, I thought in game six he actually had some moments and was decent. But now he has, I don't know how much money he has left. He signed a big contract before his last contract in Sacramento was like something for like $80 million. But Uncle Sam takes half of that. His agent, living expenses. I don't know in terms of how much money has he spent, his lifestyle. He was expecting he was going to get Jamarcus Cousins healthy was a top 15 player, arguably the best outside of Anthony Davis, the best big man in the league. He was going to get anywhere from 150 to $200 million. Period. He was going to get that money, right? Regardless of team winning, regardless of anything. A healthy DeMarcus Cousins was going to get that money. Now, he may never play basketball again. And I just don't know how I would feel as a human being if something that I've been playing, participated in, and have loved all my life was taken away from me. And on top of it, I can't see my child. Now again, he could be the reason why he's not being able to see his child. He could be the sole reason why he's not allowed to see his child. Like I don't know what was going on behind with that particular situation with the mother of his child. She could be 1,000% right for keeping him away from his child. Who knows? I'm not in their household. I'm not in their lives. But right now, he is in a absolute dark place, and it's unfortunate. I was looking forward to him being on the Lakers, playing with LeBron and Anthony Davis. I thought he was going to be a major addition on the team. You cannot question this guy's talent. You can't. There's no question it whatsoever. This guy is a tremendous offensive talent. You can do everything offensively that you would want out of a big man. There's no question, no two ways about it. But right now he's falling on some hard times, and hopefully he can recover. Hopefully he can get his mind right, get back in the NBA, get his life together, and continue to be able to play, and be able to support his family. But the first things first is just getting his mind right, because that tape, it was clearly his voice, the audio, and it was a setup by the young lady or whoever the mother of his child is. But you threatened to kill somebody, and you said, I will put a bullet in your head. You're in a dark place. There's no two ways about it. Also, in regards to the Lakers, you had Kobe Bryant coming out talking about Shaq and basically stating something that if you are a Laker fan like I have been since basically 1987, that you already known throughout the course of the Kobe-Shaq era, that the fact that Kobe Bryant was a fanatical, you know, gym rat, a compulsively obsessed with basketball, eat, sleep, and shit basketball, and Shaquille O'Neal was a guy who was uber talented, who, you know, was in shape about what 50% of his career, 60% of his career. Got in shape when it was convenient, got in shape for the playoffs, got in shape towards the end of the regular season. So this is nothing new if you're a Laker fan or if you're somebody who has closely followed the NBA. The fact that Shaquille O'Neal um, did not get the most out of his talent because of his conditioning. Now, the difference between a Shaquille O'Neal versus a Charles Barkley, obviously, about 8 inches in height and, about 70, 100 pounds in weight. And Shaquille O'Neal was so dominant and such a physical freak of nature that he could be in 85 to 95, 90% shape and still dominate the league. Kobe Bryant again, is a guy who wanted to be considered the greatest player of all time. He felt like if he, in his heart of heart, he believes. Now, 12 rings, yeah, I don't take that number literally, but Kobe feels like he should have 7 to 8 realistically. That he would have seven, minimum 7 rings if Shaquille O'Neal had taken the game as serious, even remotely as close as serious as Kobe Bryant had taken it in terms of his conditioning. I'm telling you for a fact, Shaquille O'Neal cost them, the Lakers, the 2003 championship in a four-peat. Shaquille O'Neal in the summer of 2002 waited until like September or late August, September to have surgery on his toe that had bothered him. And to his credit, he played through it in 2002 in the playoffs, won Finals MVP, was great against the Nets, did what he had to do against Sacramento, was clearly hampered in pain, played through it, but he should have had surgery immediately, and he wouldn't have missed any games. He had surgery late in the summer. He missed games. The Lakers had to push harder than they ever had in the previous 3 years in terms of winning a champ. In terms of when they were winning, back to back to back championships, and those guys were older, and they had nothing left. They were able to get to Game 6 against San Antonio on pure talent and brilliance with Kobe and Shaq, but those older guys had nothing left, like Ori and Fishers and the Rick Foxes. Those guys had nothing left because they had to push so hard in the regular season. Why they had to push so hard in the regular season? Shaquille O'Neal missed the first, you know, 12 to 16 games. They got off to like a 6-12 start. He came back, and he had to play. Even when he came back, he had to play himself into shape, and that was really Kobe Bryant's major coming out party when he had, like, I think he had 12, 13, 10, 12, 40, uh, 10 to 12 straight games of 40 points. Kobe that year averaged 30, was 37 and 37 and 6 that year, and was just played out of his mind. Like, so, if Robert Horry makes that shot in Game 5 in 2003, they up 3 games to 2. Who knows? They would have beat the Nets again. Um, they would have beat the Nets again. I forgot who San Antonio played in the '03 conference finals. I think they played Sacramento, Dallas. They would have beat Dallas. Dallas wasn't ready, so the Lakers would have beat Dallas, and then they would have beat the Nets again. That Shaquille O'Neal cost them a championship. He cost them a four-peat in that year. There's no question about it. And again, Kobe Bryant is a guy, whether believe him or not, cares about his place amongst the all-time greats, the icons. I don't care what he says publicly. It bothers him to no end that people think LeBron James is better than Kobe Bryant. It bothers him to no end when people don't mention him in comparisons to Michael Jordan. It bothers him to no end. And that's why this type of conversation this is even a conversation. Kobe Bryant in 2 to 3 years will probably be a billionaire. He's already won an Oscar. He has daughters. He has one of his daughters is going to play college basketball, maybe even in the WNBA someday. So he just had a fourth daughter. He's busy. I mean, he has plenty of things to do in his life. He's not one of these athletes who retires and has no plan and just has nothing to do with the rest of his life. Kobe Bryant's good. He planned for this. He planned for his post-retirement. He has everything in place. Money won't be an option. Occupying his time won't be an option. But Kobe Bryant is as competitive of an athlete, NBA player that you will ever see. And Kobe Bryant, in his heart of hearts, knows and believes that he should have more than 5 championships. And if he had 6, 7, or 8, there would be no debate. Forget about best player of his generation. He might be even considered the greatest player of all time. If Shaq would have been 5 or 10% better. And again, he didn't rip Shaq. He was listen, he said, hey, if you would have worked harder, you would have been the greatest of all time. That's a compliment. He didn't have to say that. And I think Kobe Bryant believes that. I don't think Kobe Bryant's not someone who blows smoke. I don't think Kobe Bryant's going to be the type that say, "Oh, since I'm taking a shot at him, I gotta kiss his ass by saying he would have been the greatest of all time." No, no, no. He believes that. He believes that for a fact. I would have more rings. Shaq would have been the greatest of all time, in my opinion. So it's one of those things where as you get older, and you hear this all the time, people get more honest. Things start coming out. You saw Quincy Jones coming out talking about Marlon Brando and all the whole nine, and just telling all his stories at the age of I think Quincy Jones is 80. You get older, you just be like, yo, I don't give a shit. I'm getting old. I'm old. Now Kobe Bryant is not Quincy Jones in terms of his age, but what does Kobe Bryant have to lose by saying that at this point? But again, this is something that Kobe Bryant has been saying for years. This is not enough. This is not, Kobe Bryant's not doing this to generate. He's not doing this for clickbait. He's not doing this to generate uh, likes for Instagram like that. That's not even what Kobe Bryant's about. This is what Kobe Bryant believes for a fact that Shaquille O'Neal did not get the most out of his career, which really is a testament of how great Shaq was. The fact that you talk about a guy who is considered to be the most dominant big man since Wilt Chamberlain, considered to be a legit top 10 player of all time, and a four-time champion, three-time Finals MVP. The fact that you say that he did not get the most out of his talent, that's just good. I mean, it goes to show you just how dominant he was. So can't be mad at Kobe. Can't be mad at Kobe. They played 8 years together, won three championships. Probably should have won four or five. I'm not gonna go crazy and say they should have won six, seven, eight, nine, four or five. But Kobe Bryant's coming from a real and authentic place. Speaking of authenticity. Did I say that right? Authenticity. Okay, if I can get it right the third time. If you haven't seen the Dave Chappelle special, Sticks and Stones, I obviously, without question, I strongly, strongly recommend you seeing it. Of course, it's on Netflix right now. I'm not going to give away what he said because I want you to check it out. But I'll say this: Dave Chappelle right now is so far ahead of whoever you consider the second best comedian in the world is. It doesn't even matter who. He's at a level to where I've never seen a comedian at. Now, when Richard Pryor was doing this thing, I'm 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, maybe even younger. Okay. Bill Cosby, Eddie Murphy. I've seen some great ones. Patrice O'Neill. I mean, there are a couple of just iconic. Chris Rock. I've never seen anything like this. Dave Chappelle is not trying to offend anybody. He's not. He's at a level right now where he's not even trying to make you laugh. Like he's not. He's not one for clickbait. He's not one for shock value. He's just having his shows are conversations. His shows are just honest conversations. Honest. And they're coming from a place of this is what I think, this is what I believe, these are my thoughts. You could agree with him, you could disagree with him. It is what it is. And coming from a place, you have to remember, the thing you have to remember about Dave Chappelle is this is a guy, and you want to talk about character and integrity. This is a guy who walked away from 40, $50 million. Chappelle showed he was going to get paid $40 to $50 million a season to do season 3 of Chappelle's show, and with Comedy Central. Okay. No, I don't like the direction the show is going in. You saw Chappelle show without Dave Chappelle when they did the whole special with Darnell Rollins and the late Charlie Murphy when they hosted on Comedy Central back in, I think it was like 2005, 2004. I think it was 2005. It was some shit, and you could see why Dave Chappelle walked away from it. It was just like, no, I'm not putting my name to this, even for a check. There's not money in the world that's gonna connect my name to this bullshit. Goes to Africa, off the grid for a couple years, comes back, had a rough start with was doing some clubs, comes back and just explodes on Netflix. And at this point right now, again, they're I'm just thinking about this the other day, like what athletes, entertainers, what people that I've seen that have been so far ahead of their competitors or their contemporaries to where it's not even a debate or discussion about or even it's not even relevant who's second. Tiger Woods, I think peak prime Tiger Woods, I think was at that level. Michael Jordan, when you want to say Karl Malone or Charles Barkley was the second best player. Shaq was still young. Penny Hardaway was still. Those guys were great, but they weren't ready. It didn't matter. Nobody like it was Michael Jordan. That was it. That was it. It was nobody even to. It was nobody even to bring up. To give you a sense of to give you a sense of how far ahead Chappelle is than any other comedian. Chris Rock came out a couple years ago and was like, Chappelle's the best. This is Chris Rock. Chris Rock is a legendary, iconic comedian in his own right. He's had some of the great, Bring the Pain, Bigger and Blacker. Chris Rock has had some of the most great stand-up comedic specials of all time. So for Chris Rock, just for Chris Rock to say this guy is better than me, that's basically sub code for I'm not on his level. Now he's not going to say I'm not on his level, but think about this: if you're Chris Rock, and you thought he's that he was better, I'm better than him, or he may be better than me, but not by that much. Would you really come out and admit that he's better than you? I wouldn't. But when it's but when it's not even debatable, it's like, all right, you got it. You got it. And this is coming from Chris Rock. Chris Rock is a legend. And he says, look, this dude's basically on another stratosphere. And he is. I mean, there's no two ways about it. I've rarely watched any comedy special twice. I rarely watch it twice. I really go see a movie twice. Saw Black Panther twice. I think, well, three times. Well, twice. I saw Black Panther twice, but I don't go see too many movies twice, more than once. I don't watch too many comedy specials more than once. I watched the Chappelle show, the Chappelle special, twice in 3 days, and it was just as good as the second time as it was the first. I mean, it was comedic. It was a guy at his pinnacle, a chess master at his absolute best. And again, people are going to be pissed off when you're at that level, when you are so authentic and in terms of, especially when it comes to art. It's not about, you're not someone who's trying to please people. I grew up on late 80s, mid 90s comedy when when these cats didn't give a shit about PC, about any group of people, about anything, race, gender, money. They would say anything at any time. That's the type of comedy I grew up on. And nowadays, I don't even see how comedians could even earn a living with the fact of how PC it is, with how PC you have to be. But again, with Chappelle, he doesn't give a fuck. He generally does not give a fuck. And again, it's not coming from a place of anger. It's not coming from a place of shock value, clickbait, none of that. This is artistic authenticity at its highest level. At its highest level. So I certainly recommend it. It is a conversation. There are times where you laugh out loud. There are times where you just think like, damn, he, whoa, I didn't think about that. He's right. There are more of those times than even just the outright laughing out loud. Again, he's at a level to where he's not trying to make you die laughing and try and get you to laugh at every joke. He's not. He's not. He is. It's even beyond just telling jokes. It is a pure conversation. A pure conversation. Again, he's doing it at a level that I've never seen, that I haven't seen before, ever. Unfortunately, Power season 6, episode 1 could not match that level of greatness. I've been a Power fan since 2014, since season 1. I've defended this show tooth and nail, but I couldn't defend what I witnessed on Sunday. I could not defend this. I think Power has become a victim of its own success from a standpoint of there are times when companies and corporations get so big, they become just caricatures of what they are. Starbucks is a perfect example. It got so big to where they just started releasing any type of coffee, and it's like really you don't need 80 different flavors of coffee, and you just don't need it. You have your core set of coffee. I'm good with that, and that's fine. But they just got too big. Like they thought they could just put out anything, and people would buy, and they were Starbucks. That's how I feel about Power. I mean, episode 1. I mean, you have Ghost and Tommy fighting the first episode. You have They have 15 episodes to develop and cultivate a story. 15. Unlike some of the shows that we've seen ended in recent memory, whether it be a Breaking Bad, whether it be a The Wire, Game of Thrones, who have been all those shows were cut short of their normal season of episodes. They have 5 extra episodes. They have 10 in the fall and 5 next winter, and they treat it as if as this were a it reminded me of a bad episode of Empire. Everything shock value, every predictable, bad acting. I mean, you can't be a worse actor than the kid, the young man that's playing Lala's son, Cash. You can't find that young man, that dude can't. That kid couldn't play dead. You can't be a worse actor. I'm like, does he have the teleprompter? Is he reading off the teleprompter? Did he remember his lines? But I don't blame him. It's just bad. It's bad acting. It's horrible writing. It's horrible writing. But I my expectation of Power has always been I've never put Power on the same level as a Breaking Bad, The Wire, none of those shows. I'm not a fool. I'm realistic. But to me, I've always said that it was a perfect guilty pleasure summer show, and that the show that came from nothing into being one of the biggest cable television shows on cable television. And again, here's a problem moving forward. The first episode of the ratings, only Game of Thrones had a larger audience. The first episode of a cable drama this year, only Game of Thrones. And to me, by far and away, it is the worst opening episode of the series in its 6 seasons. By far, it's not even close. I binge watched Power last weekend from Friday to Sunday. This but just almost every episode, season 1 through 5, and really made me respect how good season 2 and 3 was. 4 and 5 were pretty good, but 2 and 3 were season 2 especially when 50 Cent got out of jail and him and Ghost went at it. That to me was the best season. But this season right so far, getting off, they have gotten off to a horrible start, and I don't know if they can recover. I mean, this Ghost versus Tommy thing, you got one guy, two guys, one guy who clearly wanted to kill the other, but decides to put the fight on pause because it's, his son shows up. And again, I'm not gonna go through every plot point or every mishap that the writing had because I don't, we'll be here all night. But I just hope that this first episode was an aberration, and that they just had a bad episode, a bad start, and that it picks up moving forward. But I have a feeling that we're gonna see more of the every other scene, shock value, the trying to be predictable, the predictable murders like you saw with Tommy killing Pancho, and what have you, and some of the just poor acting. Again, I don't expect anything out of Lala, but Lala's son's supposed to have a role in it, and I just again, a bad season can ruin what you think about a show, especially a bad last season. So we'll see what happens in episode two. Um, Again, I don't understand Tasha. I don't understand Tasha, Tasha's whole character. You know, and the only reason I say this is because Tasha all of a sudden wants to be legit, and for basically the entire first season, you had your husband was begging you to go legit and just be a straight business club owner, and you try to push him into being, so basically saying you could be the best drug dealer in New York City. And now Tasha can't stand who Ghost is when she pushed him into being who he is right now, who he became in terms of what with Angela in that situation. And by the way, I had no problem. They had to kill Angela. Like, it was just they were going to focus on Ghost versus Tommy. Tyreek has a bigger role. The Angela character had ran out of storylines. There was only so many, cheat on Ghosts, not cheat on Ghosts, but stay with Ghosts, break up with Ghosts, try to prosecute Ghosts, and that had run its course over the past 5 seasons. So I had zero problem. I'm surprised that there were that many people that believed that thought that was shocked by her dying, shocked with her death. Wasn't surprised in the least bit. They had to kill her off. That was the one good move that they made in the entire episode, was killing Angela, was making sure that Angela's character was dead. But we'll see what happens in episode two. Maybe I'm overreacting, and maybe episode two gets back to where they were, last season and previous seasons. That's going to wrap it up for this latest edition of the Real Deal Podcast. As always, season 12 of the Real Deal Podcast. This is the first episode of season 12. We'll be back at it. We'll be back at it early next week. Maybe I might drop one in the weekend. This is the Real Deal Podcast, telling it like it is with no apologies. I'm out.